What's up guys, this is Lesky, and in today's video I'm not going to be going over a player build or anything like that, but instead we're going to be doing something a little bit different and taking a look at the best custom tactics and formations you can use in pro clubs. I've had quite a few of you guys in my comments request a video like this, so I thought I'd get this out for y'all. I haven't done anything like this on my channel before, so this will be a little bit new to me. So let's get started and take a look at the best formation, tactics, strategy that you can use and help your team win more games in pro clubs. As we take a look at the tactics my team and I like to use, just keep in mind that some of these formations and strategies might not fit your team best depending on the amount of players you have on your team, what positions y'all like to play, and the style of play. I will be showing y'all a variety of formations that are quite different, so maybe one of these could work nicely for your team. If not, I still hope this video can be used as a reference point when deciding your own custom tactics for your team. First formation that we'll be looking at is the 4-3-3-4, otherwise known as the 4-3-3 attack. It's got two center mids and a cam, as well as two wingers and a striker. I know a lot of teams that I play against, at least, like to use a formation like this or similar to it. Some of them might switch to like the 4-2-3-1 with the three attacking mids, like the Lamb, the Ram, and the Cam, and then like two CDMs. That's also a good option if you want to use that formation. I don't have it as a preset tactic or anything like that, but I will be showing you guys this formation and the instructions and tactics for it. So the balance tactic that I have on this formation is pressure on heavy touch, and I have it on 70 depth. My team likes to play at a high depth, even though a lot of teams like to get behind. It's honestly, I think, better in my opinion to have a higher depth. A lot of people have that distance shooter, so if it's really low, then a lot of people can just take distance shots from outside the box and make them on your team, and it's nice to just win the ball high up the field so you can get a counterattack and an easy chance to score. That's just my opinion. If you want, you can lower the depth to like 50 or anything lower than that. But all these formations have 5 separate tactics, and it gets more defensive and more attacking depending on the situation. If we're losing, if we're winning, I might switch it. I usually don't switch it to defensive unless we're really trying to win a match, going for a title or something like that. So I have it on pressure on heavy touch. You could even put it on balance. I like just going balance for a lot of the formations, which you might see, but this one I have it on pressure on heavy touch. I think it's a good tactic to have. Width, I always like to make it a little bit narrower than the default. It normally just starts at 50, so I have it on 40. And then 70 for the depth, as I just mentioned. And then for the offense, for the most of my tactics, or at least for the balanced tactics for all the formations, I have it on balanced. Build up play balance, chance creation balance. This doesn't matter too much if you have a lot of players on your team. If you have like 11 players or 6, 7, 8 players, then it's not going to matter too much, some of these tactics and instructions. But it will be helpful if you have like 3 or 4 or like 2 players. It'll help the computers a lot. And then for the offense, I have it on 50. You can also change this to 40, 45, make it wider if you want. This formation is already pretty wide with the wingers, so I don't really think you need to make it any wider than 50. Players in the box, kind of up to you what you want to do. I kind of have it like in the middle. But if like I'm going to make it more defensive, I'm going to lower it. If I'm going to make it more attacking, I will raise it up. And then corners and set pieces, I always have it on 1. Don't want to get countered on corners. Happens a lot. A lot of teams can score off of the opposing team's corners just by countering with the speed that they have up top. And for free kicks, it's the same thing. So this is the tactics that I have for this balance setup, taking a look at the instructions for each position. And most of this is just depending on if you have AIs in this area. It really won't matter if you actually have real positions or real players in these positions. Like the only thing it might affect if you have a real teammate, like as a winger or something, I have it on comeback on defense, stay wide, stay on the edge of the box for the cross. You might just want to put it on balanced or basic for everything because it might force them to go in those areas of the pitch and might affect their rating because they're not listening to the instructions. So keep that in mind. But the player instructions that you see here are solely based on if we have AIs in those positions. If we don't have any wingers, we really like having computers as wingers. They're probably the best position for AIs. They have very cracked stats. I think they're the fastest. They have crazy dribbling and passing stats. And the shooting's actually pretty decent too. So when we have AIs on the wing, we just have it come back on defense, stay wide, so they kind of don't go in the box and take those crosses from us because they're really short. They're not the best in the air, and stay on the edge of the box for the cross. Come back on defense, obviously just to help out on defense a little bit more. So yeah, that's the tactics we have for the wingers. Gonna go over this really quick. I have a lot of formations and tactics to go over, and the instructions really aren't that relevant, especially if all these positions are gonna be real players. Stay central, get behind, normal interceptions, stay forward, basic pretty much for a cam and free roam. I have the center mids on stay back. That's good, especially if they're computers. You want them to stay back, don't want them to go up much to try and prevent the counter. And then the back four, which is probably, and the keeper is probably the most important, especially if you have AIs. In the back, stay back, overlap, stay back, overlap. You can put it on aggressive interceptions for like the outside backs. I have heard that's pretty good to try and prevent like the line play, like people trying to go down the line, abuse the line with the wingers, and then just get down the end line and cross it or something. So you could put it on aggressive. Stay back, basically the basic setup for a center back. And then the keepers I always have on comes for crosses, sweeper keeper. I would highly recommend this. You don't want to do cautious with crosses. This will be the best setup for a keeper. So that's the balanced setup. Let's take a look at the other tactics that I have for this 4-3-3 formation really quick. I want to show y'all the attacking setup I have for this formation, and the main difference is just press after possession loss. I really like this. The only thing is you might be a little bit more susceptible to counters, and also you will lose some stamina, so don't really use it for the entire match. I like to use it if we're losing or if it's a tie game and we really need to win, then I'll turn it on. The same width and depth and the same build-up play and chance creation, but the only difference is press after possession loss. For 7 seconds after you lose the ball, your team will basically press, and it's good if you can get a steal off of it. Say the other teams like defense or midfielders might be out of position, and you can just get an easy goal, easy counter because of that. So I really like press after possession loss. I'm not going to show the instructions for it. It's basically the same thing. Don't want to focus too much on the player instructions. And then for ultra attacking, the only real difference is constant pressure, and the depth is on 100. And I decided to change the chance creation to direct passing. I don't think this matters too much, especially if you have like a team of 11, 8, a lot of players, it really won't affect it. But if you have more AIs than actual players, then it could make a difference. So I have it on direct passing just for this constant pressure setup. You could put it to like forward runs or something like that, or you could just keep it on balance, really up to you. And then as it gets more aggressive, like the tactic, more attacking, I will put the players in the box up a little bit more, and then I bumped up the corners, and this should actually be down here. I don't know why it's all the way to the top. So now let's go to the defensive and ultra defensive really quick. And the only difference here really is the depth is down to 50, not at 70. I like to start my depths at 70. So this one's a little bit more defensive at 50, try and prevent the over the tops a bit more. And then I have it on balance instead of pressure on heavy touch. Other than that, everything's pretty much the same. And now on to ultra defensive, which I don't think I've ever used for any of my formations. I just have this in case. I have the depth to 40, a little bit lower. I have it on balance. You could put it on drop back if you want, but you might be more susceptible to long shots because they'll have a lot more time outside your box and they could just hit a long shot banger on you. Offense, I have it on slow build-up possession, but honestly, I really don't know what's best. You could put it on long ball or something if they're constant pressing you, to try and abuse that constant press and just hit them on a counter because their team is all bombing forward. I don't know. I just have it on slow build-up possession to maybe waste time, but again, I don't ever use this tactic anyways. Width is still on 50, and then everything is down to 1. So that's this 4-3-3 formation with the cam. Let's take a look at the next formation. This formation is very weird, and some of y'all are probably looking at this like, what the hell is going on? But my team used this and had a lot of success with it. It's got that spine look to it with a striker, a center forward, and a center mid. This is for all the teams that like to use 3 in the backs or 5 in the back formations. You can use this tactic as a template for any other 3 in the back or 5 in the backs that y'all use, but I really do like this one. If y'all do like to run wing backs in y'all's team, maybe give this one a try and y'all have some success with it. So let's take a look at it. And for the balance tactic, it's pretty much the same. My balance tactics for all my formations will be pretty similar to this. I started on 70 depth and have it on 40 width, a little bit narrower than the default, which is 50. And then I have it on balance. You can put it on pressure on heavy touch if you want. I switch, depending on the formation, I kind of switch. It really does not matter too much, but I have it on balance for this one. And then the offense, build up, play, and chance creation are both on balanced as well. I really don't mess with this too much at all. Width is on 50, players in the box is in the middle, somewhere in the middle, and then corners and free kicks are on 1. So basically the same setup. And then the instructions for this, I'm going to go over this really quick. The only real positions that it matters, like you might just want to have the CDMs on stay back while attacking, the center backs on stay back, but you're going to want, this is important. I learned this in Ultimate Team. My friend likes to use 3 in the back a lot. He says you need to have the outside center backs on overlap. Otherwise, they'll be too narrow. They won't really go up and help on attack. This will just be like their natural position when your team has the ball. They'll just be wider, and it won't be like crazy narrow. Because if you're outside where your wing backs are going forward, and say you lose the ball and the other team's trying to counter, they'll try and abuse the space in behind the wing backs, but the outside center backs will be a little bit wider to start out, so they might be able to prevent that. And if you have it on like stay back while attacking, they'll be a little bit more narrow. So if you're going to use this formation or any 3 in the back, 5 in the back formation, make sure you have the outside center backs on overlap. And the other position that is important for a 3 in the back is the outside mids. You want to make sure they're on comeback on defense. And then I have them both on stay wide, stay on the edge of the box for the cross. You don't need them coming inside. This is a narrow formation. It'll just clog it up. So you want them to stay wide. So that's why I have it on these tactics right here. But just make sure they're on comeback on defense. That's the most important thing. And then for the keeper, as I said, all my formations, the keeper will be on comes for crosses and sweeper keeper. So now let me quickly go over the other game plans for this formation, starting with attacking. I have it on press after possession loss. Same thing as the other formation, that's really the only difference. And then ultra attacking, I bumped the depth up to 100, and then I have it on constant pressure. And one thing I like to do for my ultra attacking setups is when it comes to the instructions, I like to put some of the attacking positions on aggressive interceptions. That could be good to do, especially if they are AI. So you can do that if you want when it comes to constant pressure tactics. Defensive, balance, lower the depth a little bit, and that's pretty much the only difference. It's basically the exact same thing as the other formation, and that's going to be the same thing for the rest of the formations I show you pretty much. And then for the ultra defensive, I have it on balance. Depth is 35, lowered it a little bit more. Slow build up possession. You can switch that up if you want, but that's the 3-5-1-1 formation for those of y'all that play 5 in the back or 3 in the back with your teams. This next formation I have for y'all is the 4-2-4. It's pretty much the same thing as the 4-4-2. Instead of outside mids, they are wingers, and it's a 2-striker formation with 2 center mids. If you want, you could switch it to a 4-4-2 with the 2 CDMs or the 2 center mids, and the tactics are basically going to be the same exact thing. I think I only have 3 game plans set up here, so ignore the ultra attacking and ultra defensive. Don't use this formation too much, but it is pretty fun to use, and it can actually be used pretty nicely, especially if you have all 6 of the positions filled up, or if you want to keep the wingers as AIs and you just want to have like some defense and then fill up the middle, like 2 strikers and 2 center mids as real players. So the basic tactic I have for this formation is press after possession loss with 70 depth, 40 width, and then 40 width for offense. You can bump it up to 50 if you want. I have it a little bit narrower because it's a pretty wide formation with those wingers. And then players in the box, it's really up to you what you want to do here. It's really only going to affect computer players anyway, so you can lower it. Corners and free kicks down to 1. And then for the attacking setup, it's just constant pressure, 100 depth, nothing really new there. And then defensive, I just have it on balance, lower the depth a bit to 50, same as all the other formations. And then the instructions for this formation, I have the wingers on comeback on defense, stay wide, stay on the edge of the box for the cross. only thing really important here is probably to come back on defense because it is very attacking, just to help out the center mids a little bit more. I have the center mids and the strikers all on balance. If you're going to have real players here, it really doesn't matter what you have for the tactics. So I just have them on balance. But if you have two people actually playing midfield, make sure that one of them stays back if the other one goes forward. You can interchange, but just have someone staying back at all times to prevent the counter. So you can just put one of them on stay back if you want, if they're going to be AIs, or both of them on stay back, or just keep them on balanced. And then the defense, stay back while attacking, overlap. You can put it on balanced if you want to go to like the constant pressure tactic to really get people going forward, but that will risk getting countered down the line, definitely. So just stay back while attacking, overlap. Same for the center backs, just stay back while attacking, and then comes for crosses and sweeper keeper for the goalie. So that's the 4-2-4. I'm a pretty big fan of this 4-3-2-1 formation. It's basically 3 forwards, a left forward, a right forward, and a striker with 3 center mids. So all the players can be strikers up top, or if you have some wingers and you don't want to do like the 4-3-3-4 and want to be a little bit more narrow, then you can go with this formation and still use wingers in the left forward, right forward positions, and it can work very nicely. And instead of having a cam, you have an extra center mid. So I guess it's a little bit more defensive than that first winger formation I showed you guys. We're going to look at the instructions first for this formation. And I just have the striker on stay central, stay forward. Doesn't really matter. And then I just have the left forward, right forwards on balanced. The center mids, what's important here about this formation is the central center mid should not be the most attacking one. This one should be the holding mid, the CDM, the most defensive midfielder out of the 3. And then these next 2 should be more like box to boxes. So I have them all on stay back, but really it could be like this: balanced, balanced, and then just make sure the middle one is more of a CDM because that's how the formation plays. These should be box to boxes, and this one should be defensive. And then the back 4, stay back, overlap for the outside back, same thing as the center backs. None of this really changes. Comes for crosses, sweeper keeper for the keep. And then going to the balance setup, the tactics, pretty much the same thing. Balanced, 40, 70. Don't really want to spend too much time on this. Press after possession loss for the next one. Ultra attacking, constant pressure, 100 depth. Defensive, balance, and then the ultra defensive setup is the same thing as the other ones, but I don't ever use this, as I already said multiple times. This 5th and final formation is my favorite formation in all of FIFA, probably for the past couple years. If I'm playing Ultimate Team, I'm using this formation. It's so narrow. You stack the midfield, good for pressing. And then when I'm playing Ultimate Team, I like the outside backs going forward, being attacking. So in my opinion, I think this formation would be good if you have actual people playing outside backs and then everyone in the midfield and up top as real players. So if you have like a full team of 11 or like 8 or 9, then this formation I think would be one of the best. Stack the midfield with everyone and then have 2 outside backs like going forward, being able to whip in crosses to those strikers. It can be very deadly. And then if you even have center backs playing, that's even better. So let's take a look at this formation's tactics. And we used to use this formation a lot. Haven't used it too much lately, but we used to run this formation a ton, and probably the formation we've used the most. So the balance setup is 40 width, 70 depth, and for offense, I like to have it really narrow. It doesn't affect it too much, but this is a narrow formation, and the way you play it is like tiki-taka down the middle, a lot of pass and move. So having a narrow offensive setup is nice. You don't want the defensive width to be too narrow because it's already a narrow formation. So I have it on 40, and honestly, you could bump it up to 50 if you want. And then, as I said, it's a really good formation for press. So for the attacking formation or tactic, I have 70 depth, press after possession loss, same thing, 25 width. Free kicks should be even with the corners. And then for the constant pressure, it's very good on constant pressure. 100 depth, balanced, direct passing. Nothing much changes here. And then defensive is 40 width still, 50 depth. Lower the depth a bit. That's really the only difference. and then 25 width, and then again the ultra defensive setup, which is pretty much irrelevant. So to the instructions for this formation, I have the strikers on stay forward. They don't really need to come back on defense. You have the midfield stacked, and you can put them on balance. They don't need to be stay central. It's really up to you. And then the cam is basically on balance. They can come back on defense if they want, but it's very good for countering also. If you can find that cam to dish it up to the strikers and have some one-on-ones with the keep, it's very nice. Midfielders, I have all these on stay back while attacking. I think this is for like computer purposes, but if you actually have real midfielders, you can just keep it on balance, and these will be the box-to-box midfielders, while this is the CDM. Obviously, I have it on cut passing lanes, stay back while attacking. This is just for AI, but whoever's playing CDM in this formation for sure needs to be staying back, don't need to be going forward, and have very good defensive and maybe even physical attributes. And then for the outside backs, I have them on stay back while attacking overlap. This is for AI also. But again, like I said, if you have some actual fullbacks playing, you can keep them on balanced or something, and they can go forward and make some crosses to those strikers, and it can be very deadly because the other team probably doesn't have enough defenders back to stop the outside backs, and it can be very, very attacking, and you can get a lot of goals trying that setup. And then the keeper is comes for crosses, sweeper keeper, of course. So those are the tactics we like to use, but keep in mind that any of these formations can work, but it really just depends on how much players you'll have online, what positions your teammates like to play, what positions they're best at. So you're going to have to give your best judgment when picking a formation for your team. Give them a try. Let me know what you think of them in the comments. Hopefully, one of these tactics can help your team win more games or maybe win the Division 1 title. So let me know how you get on with either of these tactics. Hit that like button for me, and then also hit that subscribe button on my channel if you haven't already subbed. Y'all have a great rest of y'all's day, and peace out.